So to begin with, right here, if you look at the ground, it's amazing. It's covered with a lot of weeds, but that's just a natural process. And all of this can be chopped and dropped to form biomass and, you know, fresh new compost and soil. So if you see, this is a look at chop and drop. I just lifted some of the weeds, placed them on the ground, and they'll automatically start decomposing. So this is the spot from where I had lifted them off. If you look and see, this is under the coconut trees, so you have a lot of coconut flower husks and stuff like that falling on the ground that are slowly decomposing. You'll notice over here that the soil is also light, loose and airy where I pulled up those weeds from. So if you see, the role the weeds are playing is that they're covering the soil, they're stopping compaction by having living roots inside of them. What they're also doing, in effect, is shading the ground from the sunlight, from the radiation that beats down and bakes the soil. This process also dries out the soil. It's one of the main causes of desertification. So it's always important to have a living root inside the ground to cover it and to retain moisture as well. Here's a look at one of our chiku trees, and there's a little baby chiku already on it. These are grafts that we'd planted a few months ago, and there's a look at one of the flowers that's just beginning to open up there. Petals look like they've dropped off, so the fertilization has happened, and hopefully that turns into another chiku. There are a couple of more flowers that are coming up. So like I said, there's something new to learn in a food forest every time we visit. Here's a look at yet another chiku tree, which has what looks like a Karela vine wrapped around it, a bitter gourd. And there you see a little baby bitter gourd. Certainly not a chiku, but there's a symbiotic relationship that is formed between these two plants. So you have the tree, the chiku tree, and you have the creeper that's gone all over it. And this is how nature works with each other. It's just beautiful to see how it happens. I wish more of us human beings could get along that way. And if you look, there are, what do you know, a couple of more little Karelas in there. One there, and a few little babies forming here. I'll just scooch on over to the other side to give you a look at what the beautiful little flowers look like. There it is. So fabulous. Also, speaking about creepers going amok, here's a look at, any guesses, guys? Here's another type of gourd that's growing on its own, and you have flowers all over it. And if you look very carefully over here, you see a little ladybug that just took off. Couldn't really get that on camera. But ladybugs are really important to have in and around your food forests, because they're predatory bugs and they will kill pests who come in to eat things. Can't seem to get close enough with this camera setup to take a look at them, but they're all around and they're feasting. They all seem to be taking off. So speaking of this vine, here's a look at what it's grown. And it's just amazing. It's just startled me, because this wasn't here about a month ago when we had come in. And somewhere here I'd seen a beautiful gourd hanging out, just enjoying its life on the trellis. Let's see if I can find it. So it's something that is growing organically over here on its own. People might have just dropped seeds. So I'll let you know if I can find it. So it so happens that while I was filming on the other side, filming these gourds, someone came quietly and pinched one of the gourds from there. So unfortunately I can't show that to you. It was growing on the same vine that I was filming. But here I find something else. Find something even more spectacular. One just fell off. I'm not really sure what these are. If you do, let me know. Oops. They seem to be jumping. Let me see if I can find them, pick them up. So that's what these are. To me they look like elephant foot yam, or what we call suran over here. But I'm really not sure because I've never seen them grow as a vine, or rather on a vine, so they clearly are something else. But here you go. There's a look at one right there. As I make my way to another side of the food forest here at St. Joseph's, you see, growing wild, just from a few seeds thrown, are, any guesses? This is an easy one. Yes, ladyfingers, okra, growing wild. So that's the beauty of a food forest. It grows you food and works around the ecosystem, follows the principles of a proper ecosystem, a proper forest ecosystem. There we are, more proof as to why a food forest concept is one of the best. As you see, as you look up there, we've got papayas growing. Above that are even coconuts. To the side of that, in season, would even be mangoes, and so on and so forth. So as you see, there is abundance that you can grow. You green a place, you provide shade, you nurture a place. It's producing oxygen for you, and it's also producing you food. Food that will feed humans as well as birds and the insects that we all need, the pollinators that come in to pollinate all of this. Right here we've got curry leaves, a bush that's done the size of a mini little tree. That's full of curry leaves, growing in perfect harmony with a guava tree. Now this doesn't have guavas on it at the moment, but I have seen a lot on this tree in the past. Now that is growing, and in the shade of that is a little papaya tree coming up. So that's taken a little bit of a beating from the rains, but it's going to come around. In the foreground, you have taro leaves, taro root growing with the leaves. They call them aloo leaves here in this part of the world. And in the background, you have a banana bush. Apart from that, if you look down below, you'll also see a beautiful little flower here. And this flower is of ladyfingers, another ladyfinger bush. So this is growing like a proper ecosystem right here in synergy with one another. And there's a look at another chiku tree that we've planted that will come up and take a little time to happen. So this is food forest magic at its best.